where you're from. It doesn't matter your color, your race, or religion. It's about the content of your character. It's about your values and your ideals.
Yes, is it Senator? You're absolutely correct. It's about your values and your character. Speaking as an African living in America, the African continent has a major value system. We have a deficit in value. There is no love or respect in the heart of the African man towards himself. So this issue that you are so outraged, the person who you should be, if you really care for Africa, who you should be outraged as is not Donald Trump. Your outrage and your anger should be channeled at those crooked and evil politicians sitting in position of authority as presidents and leaders of the continent of Africa, because they have robbed the continent blind. They have sold the nations, the continent's natural resources to the West for pennies on the dollar. I'm going to use Liberia. Liberia is a country on the west coast of Africa, maybe about 4 million population, according to about 4 million population. We had, I don't know if we still do, the largest rubber plantation in the world and iron ore. The streets of Liberia should be paved with gold. The streets of Liberia are not even paved, and you are outraged at Donald Trump's statement that is shining a light on the corruption and the wickedness and the evil that's going on in Africa. Nigeria, a country with oil, just past Christmas 2018. This is what, January 26, 2018. So December, about a month ago, Christmas time, there was a shortage of gasoline in Nigeria, a nation that produces oil. And you are outraged and angry at Donald Trump. There are young girls in Liberia and parts of Africa at the age of 10, 12, 15 years old that prostitute their bodies to men your age for $10 just to survive. And you are outraged and angry at Donald Trump. Are you serious? After you make this statement and you go back into your bed, in your nice, comfortable bed, guess what? Your sentiment and your statement and your emotion does nothing to feed the kids in Africa. It does nothing to deliver the young lady from prostitution. It does nothing to dethrone those principalities who call themselves leaders in Africa. Your emotions, your sentiments, and your outrage does nothing to make Africa great. So please, the rest of us who really love Africa, we're asking all of you guys, with all your emotions and all your videos, to spare us your emotions, because it doesn't help pave the streets of Africa. It doesn't put food on the table for those in Africa. It doesn't help the market women in the street selling just oranges, bare oranges, to put the kids through college. It doesn't save those young ladies from prostituting their bodies. So please, spare us your emotions and your sentiments. If you really care for Africa, I want you to put your money and your resources where your emotions is, or leave us alone.
Yet we have language that, from Dick Durbin to Lindsey Graham, they seem to have a much better recollection of what went on. You're under oath. You and others in that room that suddenly cannot remember. It was Martin Luther King that said, "There's nothing in this world more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity."
And sir, I'm going to say that statement you just made is absolutely true. That is exactly what is going on in Africa. The rest of the world are completely ignorant of what's going on. They don't care. But whenever they have a chance to further their evil political agenda and their viewpoint, they're going to run with it. That's all you guys are doing with this statement with Trump. Whether he said or he didn't say, I could care less. My issue here is all your outrage and your sentiments and your emotion, and you really care. Please, let's use your energy and convert it into some resources. Can your energy wipe away the tears of a mother tonight that haven't fed her children for days? Can your emotions and your sentiment put clothes on the homeless child back in Africa? Can your emotion and your outrage put food on the table? Can your emotions and your outrage educate the 80% of boys and girls in the streets that are school-age kids, college-age kids, but hanging in the street because they have nothing to do? Can your emotion and your sentiment drive the heart of our wicked leaders in Africa to stop stealing our wealth and bring it to the West to invest and keep it in the nation and reinvest? Can your emotions and your sentiments help us?
Here we are in the United States of America. And we have a history that is beautiful and grand and also ugly. Where from this nation to others, we know what happens when people sit by and are bystanders and say nothing. When Oval Office rhetoric sounds like social engineering, we know from a human history the dangers of that. Our greatest heroes in this country, spoke out about people who have convenient amnesia or who are bystanders. King said, a man dies when he refuses to stand up for that which is right. A man dies when he refuses to stand up for justice. A man dies when he refuses to take a stand.
Well, that may explain many of the death in Africa. That many Africans are dying because they refuse to stand up for justice and confront those devils that call themselves leaders. Maybe that's why the death toll in Africa is rising, because why? We refuse to stand up for justice, isn't it? And not only that, all of you, my American brothers and sisters in America that also claim to be so outraged by Trump's statement. Maybe Africans are dying and Africans are dying from starvation and diseases because you refuse to stand up for social justice for your brothers and sisters in the continent of Africa. But now you have a chance to build your political agenda and to grow your political career. You are using the statement to make yourself look like you care for Africa. You care? I want you to show me. What child in Africa have you fed? What child in Africa have you taken out of poverty? What family? You have enough resources. It takes $30 to feed a child a day. It takes $30 to put a child through school. The whole year. I want you guys to show me. Please. This President Trump's statement has propelled me and challenged me as an African living in America to start a revolution called MAG. Make Africa Great. So with all your outrage and your hurt and your emotions and your sentiments, please bring your wealth and your resources. I need your manpower. I need your brain power. I need your resources, your gift, your talents, your finances. I need it to make Africa great. Your sentiments means nothing to me. I can't do anything with it. I can't take your sentiments, your emotion, your outrage. I can't take it to the bank to cash it and go build roads and schools and hospitals and clinics. I can't feed kids with your sentiments. So please spare me.
Elie Wiesel says, we must take side. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages a tormentor, never the tormented. Gandhi said, silence becomes cowardice. Cowardice.
That's correct. So why have the world been so silent with the issues going on in Africa? Starvation, famine, wars, corruption. Why have the world been silent? All these years you have been silent. Why? You love Africa so much. This is not a personal attack on you, sir, because I don't know you personally, but your video with all this outrage is going viral. I don't want this to just become something emotional, because the black man, the black African race, we are very emotional, very full of sentiments and emotions. We are very dramatic. I don't want this just after 2 or 3 months or 2 or 3 weeks, it dies down. Then Trump come and say another outrageous statement. You run off and you all excited and you fool me at the mouth again. No, I'm not going to keep quiet. You're going to hear this statement, make Africa great. I'm challenging all of you who claim to be so outraged. You are so hurt. You are shedding tears. You are angry. I'm challenging you to be really care for Africa. Do something to change the condition of Africa, or shut up. Honestly.
When the occasion demands speaking out like Lindsey Graham did and acting accordingly. This idea that the commander-in-chief of this country could, with broad brushes, talk about certain nations and thus cast a shadow over the millions of Americans who are from those communities. And that you could even say in your testimony that Norwegians were preferenced by him because they're so hardworking.
I did.
Excuse me, let me finish.
Happy to.
Let me just draw a connection of why that matters. I'm sure you remember the 6 words from our president, the 6 words that he said after Charleston, Virginia, last summer. People marching with tiki torches and hate, when he said there are very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides. When the commander-in-chief speaks or refuses to speak, those words just don't dissipate like mist in the air. They fester. They become poison. They give license to bigotry and hate in our country. I know you're aware of a 2017 GAO report that found, and I quote, out of the 85 violent extremist incidents that resulted in death since September 12, 2001, far right-wing violent extremist groups were responsible for 73%. When I go through the Black Belt in the South, when I'm in Atlanta, black churches in Newark, they're concerned about jihadist Islamic terrorism. We watch the Twin Towers from Newark go down. But since 9/11, 85 violent incidents, 73% were with people that hold bigoted, hateful ideas about minorities. 1 American killed in Charleston, Virginia, and dozens injured. 9 Americans killed in a church shooting in Charleston, South Carolina by a white supremacist. An American killed and another wounded in Kansas after a white supremacist.
I'm not sure what this dude is ranting on. Look here, I can't even take any more of this video. My issue with all of you guys who are using this as an outrage, we need you to please take your outrage and let it challenge you to do something to make the condition of Africa great, or the African immigrants in America, or the Caribbean. Please, we don't want any more sentiments. I myself, as a female, as an African, we are very sentimental, we're very emotional. But this is not a time to be emotional anymore. The death toll, the statistic you're reading, I can give you a busload of statistic right in the continent of Africa. The Africans slaughter each other every day by the hundreds and the thousands. I don't see it on CNN News. I don't see it. I beg of you, all of you, and Madam Secretary, who, according to his statement, that you don't realize that Norway was a all-white country. May God help you on that. But Mr. President and Mr. Senator and Madam Secretary, all of you have a chance now to prove to the world that you really care for Africa, and you're going to help me to make Africa great. And you're not going to start by giving me your emotions, your ideas, your sentiments. You're going to start by pumping in your wealth and your resources to make Africa great, or leave us alone. Don't try to use it as a political bait to grow or further your political agenda or your career. Africa needs help. So anyone who jump on this African bandwagon, please make sure you jump in it, because why? You really love Africa and you're going to bring in your resources. My organization is called MAG, Make Africa Great. Find me on GoFundMe, go to Facebook, go to YouTube. We're going to make Africa great, but we need everyone to help us, especially those white and black, Democrat, Republican, any human being who care to better the life of another human being. We are calling on you to help us to make Africa great. Bring your resources, your talents, your doctors, your lawyer, your nurse, your teacher. We're going to go to Africa. You're going to volunteer your time. If you don't have the resources, you're going to volunteer your time. You're going to donate cars and houses and clothes and money. Excuse me, did I say houses? Donate resources to build houses.